Well, President Obama jumped right into the immigration debate Thursday. He called Donald Trump's so-called deportation force unrealistic. Frontrunner Ben Carson has also criticized Trump's plan. But there's another immigration debate unfolding in the GOP between Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz. Washington Post national political reporter Robert Costa is here. It's great to see you. When we're talking about the reemergence of immigration as a big issue for Republicans, there was a lot of speculation today about Trump's deportation comments and about how it could not only hurt him. I mean, think back to Mitt Romney in 2012 in the primary debate there, where he was calling for self-deportation of illegal immigrants, and that phrase went on to haunt him, but of the party as a whole.
That's a good point. And you see Trump's campaign and Trump himself saying today that they will have a humane deportation process. But even talking about deportation, that's something Republicans haven't wanted to do ever since the 2012 election, when we saw Mitt Romney's campaign hobbled by his immigration remarks. But now Trump moves forward. He continues to be the front runner, and he's unashamed of talking about deportation. It's really getting the base excited, but it's making a lot of Republican establishment figures worried about the general election implications.
Meanwhile, Cruz, who sort of backed up Trump during the GOP debate, has been out on the campaign trail, and he's hitting hard against Marco Rubio. Here's what he said.
On the question of amnesty, this is one of the issues on which there is a sharp divide in the field. A majority of the candidates standing on that Republican debate stage had previously publicly supported amnesty. And I am the only candidate standing on that debate stage who has never supported amnesty, and in fact who led the fight to defeat amnesty in Congress.
Is that the winning argument for Republicans?
There's a strategy there with what Ted Cruz is saying. He knows Trump and Carson have their bases of support. He's really trying to counter the rise of Senator Rubio. He sees Senator Rubio's support for the Gang of Eight and the comprehensive immigration reform in 2013, and he sees a vulnerability. And by talking about amnesty on the campaign trail this week, he's trying to draw a contrast.
But Marco Rubio, then, on the other hand, says he's not for amnesty, but he's for a practical, pragmatic, realistic approach. Can't thoughtful voters, even if they're against amnesty, buy into that?
That's Rubio's argument. He believes he can make inroads with both conservatives and mainstream Republicans, and perhaps even some Democrats, by coming across as sensible on immigration, as not part of the hard right, the fringe of the GOP. But he needs those conservatives to not be suspicious of him to have a shot at the nomination. So he's trying to play a balancing act.
So Rand Paul, again, doubling down on his, Rubio's not conservative enough. That actually could hurt Rubio.
It could hurt Rubio. Rubio especially is having a problem connecting with libertarian voters. Rubio is a defense hawk. He's for intervention abroad. Rand Paul is the exact opposite of that. And so Rand Paul is coming at Rubio from one angle. You have Ted Cruz coming from another angle on immigration. So on foreign policy, on immigration, Rubio has some challenges, but he's had a nice run. He continues to rise in the polls. His people feel pretty good.
When we talk about establishment, conventional wisdom here, there's got to be a lot of curiosity, confusion, conflict about the way this race is going.
Certainly.
In the primary stage. Karl Rove today tweeted out that Trump is the biggest loser, that his debate performance showed that he was full of contradiction. Trump tweeted back that Rove is a biased dope, and then the Twitter war went on. How do the establishment, conventional wisdom guys, the guys who are accustomed to being the movers and shakers, being the kingmakers, so to speak, in the Republican Party, how do they wrap their minds around what's happening right now?
It's very difficult for them. I was on the phone with a lot of donors today, Wall Street types, and their message to each other is stay calm. Hopefully this thing will sort itself out. But we're now in month 4 of Trump and Carson dominating this 2016 Republican race, and it shows no signs of ebbing at all. And so the establishment has to make a decision now in November. Do they go on the airwaves with ads against Trump? Do they really start to attack Carson's biography? How do they counter this rise? They don't have a strategy at the moment.
Do they worry that if Trump or Carson ends up being the party's nominee, that they'll lose the general election?
Many donors believe if Trump or Carson's the nominee, you're looking at Barry Goldwater, 1964, George McGovern of the Democrats, 1972. And by that, I mean a sweeping loss for the Republican parties, like it was for those two past candidates, when you have an ideological favorite or someone who's from the fringe of the party suddenly get the nomination. It causes problems across the board.
Bob, nice to see you. Thank you for your insight.
Thank you, Contessa.